part 2 of how Saturn retrograde will affect your rising sign from now until December. I think I left off on Leo, so now we'll go into Virgo rising. As a Virgo rising, Saturn in Aries has been extremely difficult for me. Saturn in general is never pleasant in my opinion, but it does teach us. So I guess there's a silver lining there. I don't know. I guess that's just what I keep telling myself. But for Virgo risings, this is going to be, sorry, I'm an itch. This is going to be a difficult Saturn retrograde because it's in our 8th house, right? So whenever planets are in the 8th house, either natally or transiting, you're going to be dealing with not only the darker sides of life, but also other people's money, other people's finances, disputes over money, disputes over inheritances, dealing with psychological issues. It's definitely a mental health house. No, I mean, it's not in the same way as the 12th house, but the 8th house is definitely, New Age astrology would consider it the house of transformation. I would consider it a house of torture because Saturn just doesn't let up. Aries wants to be free. Aries wants to be liberated, right? Saturn's like, no, 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 no. That's not happening. We're not doing that. So I think for Virgo risings, this is going to be a time of when you're going to have to really get serious about your money. You're going to have to really get serious about what you're going to do for money. You're going to have to get serious about how you're going to handle money, financial decisions that maybe you've never really dealt with before. So this could be a time when people are parting ways financially, inheritances, dealing with other people's financial burdens, dealing with your own financial burdens, dealing with the loss of people that you love. I think throughout this entire Saturn in the 8th house transit, a lot of Virgo risings will unfortunately lose people that they love. And I'm not trying to be a fatalistic astrologer, but I am a straight shooter. I also think Neptune in the 8th house is worrisome too. That doesn't mean that you're going to, but I think from someone who just lost someone who is the most important person in my life, you just have to be present right now and enjoy every moment that you can, because you never know when life is going to pull the rug from underneath you. That's just how it goes. That's coming from an 8th house stellium who has had a lot of loss in my life. But I think Virgo risings, there's going to be a lot of tumultuous energy with this Saturn retrograde in the 8th house. I could see lawsuits. I'm currently involved in 3 lawsuits. I don't even like to sue people, and I'm involved in 3 lawsuits right now. I'm involved in losing my mom, who just passed away like 3 weeks ago. So there's a lot, I think, that Virgo risings are dealing with. A lot of Virgo risings that I personally know, their parents are sick right now. If you look at the Virgo risings that are like celebrities, we have like Dolly Parton. She's been having health issues. We have Bruce Willis, who is basically on hospice care right now. So I'm not saying that all the Virgo risings are going to lose their parents and we're all going to crash and burn, which might happen. I mean, we are in America, but it is a time of great evolution for Virgo risings. That is not always pleasant. That is not always. Ancient astrologers weren't really like, they weren't like really politically correct. they would talk about the 8th house as though like this is the house of, you know. So it wasn't really them trying to be mean. It's just like the 6th house in ancient astrologers' mind was the house of terminal illness or getting very sick. That's just what it was. So I do think that, I mean, as a Virgo rising, I can see this already playing out in my own life. And it's going to be an interesting retrograde because Saturn in the 8th house, I mean, that only happens, every like 27 to 28 years. So when it comes in with a bang. So I would just be very mindful of your finances during this time, like making sure that you are protecting yourself in any way that you need to or that you have to, but also holding your loved ones a little bit closer because like life is fragile and none of us are getting out of here alive. Not to be morbid, but I mean, like, life is suffering and we're all going to lose everything that we at some point. That's a part of our karmic retribution. And this is one of those transits, Saturn in the 8th house in particular, but retrograde. We're going to have to review all of that, and we're going to have to really look at it closely and really deeply. It's almost like facing our deepest, most profound and torturous fears. Libra rising, I would say this would be a time, if you were going to get divorced, it would be probably in the next few years, if not during this retrograde. If I always have a rule, if you make it through Saturn in the 7th house and you stay married, you're going to make it. But Saturn is in your 7th house. So risings, I would really try to see your partners in the clearest light right now, because Saturn is going to expose all the things that are hard to accept about said partners. So Saturn in the 7th house is almost like the come to Jesus moment, where it's like, oh, I can either be with this person and make it work, or we're going to have to part ways. Saturn in the 7th house retrograde, you're going to have to revise and look back at all those things that are they deal breakers? Can you live with them? Can you live without them? So I think that's something that is going to be very pertinent in this retrograde for Libra risings. But I also would say too, and I know this is off topic with the Saturn retrograde, Libra, Scorpios. You do have, risings do have Pluto in the 5th house. I've actually been through that transit, and I would say that obviously it's a cumulative transit because it's a long transit. It takes like 20 years. But Pluto in the 5th house is going to really challenge your love affairs and even like your relationships with children. I could see someone like losing children during Pluto in the 5th house. Pluto in the 4th house, I definitely would say is more so like losing family members. But I would just say for Libra risings, really work on your relationships right now. With this Saturn retrograde, it may be kind of a bumpy road until December, but I mean, to be frank with you, I think it's going to be bumpy throughout this entire transit, especially as, you know, Saturn moves along. I think the last time I checked, Saturn was at around 14 degrees. Now it's going to retrograde back. I think it retrogrades back to about 7 degrees. So pay attention. Do you have planets in those degrees? Like when it triggers those degrees, that's when you're going to see it really manifest in your life. So as much as I am not a math person, astrology is very mathematical. Degrees are so important, and it really can show you the triggering of certain events that will occur in your life. So take warning, Libra risings. I might have to make a part 3 because I talk a lot. But for Scorpio risings, this is Saturn retrograde, will be retrograde in your 6th house of work and health. So there may be issues around work and routine, but also a lot of health stuff that you have to revise, whether it's like going and getting your yearly smear or getting something biopsied, because Aries is ruled by the head. It could have to do with something like dental, vision, hearing. So just my best advice, because I've had Saturn in the 6th house transit, is be proactive in your health. Like go to the dermatologist if that's what you need to do. Go get your smear, go get your mammogram, go get whatever the fuck you need to get done, because Saturn rewards when we do what we should do, and it does punish us when we don't. Usually it comes through a karmic lesson. So Scorpio rising, I would definitely suggest being proactive in your health at this time.